Welcome everyone. Participants, kindly rename yourself according to the naming convention provided. As already informed, please enter your full name underscore your team name. Sorry, the team name underscore your full name. So welcome everyone. We are at the final round of Dexterity, the product management challenge organized by OJAS 14 of SPJIMR Mumbai. Crowned as the country's seventh biggest B-School fest, OJAS is the flagship management festival of SPJIN Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai, with participation from 100 plus B schools and undergraduate colleges across the country. The fest in its previous editions saw massive participation of over 9,000 plus students, registering for 25 events from all domains across 3 days, even when it was virtual. This year, it is about making it bigger and better. From the despair of a disconnected, illusory world to coming together in a post-pandemic reality, a promise of change and hope marks the 14th edition of OJAS. Technology has helped the world evolve around us rapidly. Customer touchpoints and interactions have grown tremendously, while technology has become a point of parity for firms in all domains. As customers get more empowered and aware, the need for customization and personalization will grow. Therefore, it is imperative that innovative and creative solutions are developed, keeping the customers at the center to thrive in the competition. OJAS 14, in association with Intuit, presents Dexterity, the Product Management Challenge. It is a platform providing the participants an opportunity to work on a real-life case challenge, enabling them to showcase their product management skills and provide an innovative, creative, and effective solution. Dexterity was conducted over 3 rounds, with the first round being an eliminatory quiz, which saw huge participation of 744 students in the form of 289 teams from top B schools across the country. The top teams moved on to the next round, where the case study was provided by our event sponsor Intuit. We witnessed enthusiastic participation from teams who submitted their innovative solutions, which was then evaluated by an esteemed panel of judges from Intuit. Currently, we present you the national finals of Dexterity. We would like to take this opportunity to thank Intuit once again for their continued association with OJAS and SPJIMR Mumbai. Intuit's team, consisting of Ms. Soumya Sulegai, the University Recruiting Manager, Mr. Sonu Hos, University Recruiter, and esteemed panel of jury present here, Mr. Lokesh Tripathi, who is a Group Product Manager of Quickbooks Intuit. He is an alumni of IIT Roorkee and IIM Bangalore and has an experience of over 19 years in leading product-based technology companies such as Career Launcher, SAP Labs, Satmetrics, Build Direct Technologies, and is currently at Intuit. And we have Mr. Aditya Dixit, a Group Product Manager in Quickbooks of Intuit. He is an alumni of SPJIMR's cohort of 2012 and has 9 years of experience in leading product technology companies such as Vodafone and Intuit.
Thank you, Anand. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Anand. This is my second year judging at OJAS, the Broadband Conclave, and looking forward to the bar being released this year. Excited.
It's a pleasure hosting you, Lokesh and Aditya.
Thank you.
We would like to invite you to provide any words or any how to address the participants.
Sure. Aditya, do you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, very simply, guys, uh, product management is all about being the customer champion. So really, what we are looking for your solutions in this is how you have thought from a customer angle and are going to bring in that really key pain point, how you go ahead and solve that. And that's really what it's all about. It's going to be a simple conversation. Don't worry about, this is not an interview. This is not a grilling session where there are going to be hard challenges that are thrown across to you. Think about your customer, bring forward the point. Let's have an engaging conversation. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, plus one to that, Aditya, and I'm here to learn on how you all have thought about the problem and the challenge that we have given to you, and really looking forward to all the presentations and how you are able to present around the parameters that we have just defined. So yeah, all the best and looking forward.
Thank you, Jesus, for that insightful words. So before we get started with the presentations, let us have a look at the rules. Each team will have to pitch their business plan presentation in 10 minutes. We will give you a heads up at 8 minutes on Zoom chat and a hard stop indication after 10 minutes. Q&A time for each presentation would be 8 minutes. The presenting team participants need to keep their hands raised during the presentation as well as the Q&A sessions. One of the member will have to share their screen while presenting. And the order of the presentations will be as follows: optimizers from IIM Lucknow, chasm crossers from IIM Bangalore, prod files from SPJMR, benchmark makers from XLRI, Prodman from IIM Bangalore, and Genesis from IIM Calcutta. Now, I would like to invite optimizers from IIM Lucknow to present their presentations.
Sure.
Team optimizers, please let us know when you are ready. Okay.
Is my screen visible?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen. All the best, Hemant and Shimona.
Thank you, sir. So first of all, a very good evening to all the participants and the juries present here. And thanks to the OJAS team for providing us the opportunity to present our case in front of esteemed juries. So we are the team optimizers. I am Hemant and my partner is Shimona. So basically, while trying to understand the problem, we identified that there are two different kinds of users of QuickBooks. One is a kind of a freelancer and second is an accountant. So while trying to identify different personas among those user segments, we identified that there is a user segment. For example, there is a user persona, for example, Shanu, who doesn't have any compliance issue, who doesn't have any knowledge about compliance issues and doesn't know about how is accounting done by his employer. So he faces a lot of problems in his day-to-day accounting and has to go to accountant. Similarly, a second user persona is of a Sushant. He has been in the industry for the last 20 plus years. Majority of his revenues comes from the consulting services, but he also has to do mundane task of filling the details using receipts. So he has to waste some of his time there, and there is a huge opportunity cost for that as well. So while trying to identify whether this problem is big enough to be solved, we first try to identify how many freelancers are there in India and how much is the revenue being lost by the accountants per year. So while trying to identify how many of the freelancers are there, we started with the population of India and we used the filters of age, working population, gender, and different sectors in which the population works. So we found out that there are 14 million freelancers in India, which is a very huge number. If we can solve the problem of even 1% of these freelancers, it will be a great impact. Similarly, to identify the amount of revenue lost per year, we identified that there are 3 lakh CAs in India, and we estimated that total accountants to be 30 lakhs. And then from there, we found out the average number of days the CA accountant work and the average working hour and the average wage per hour. And then we found out that if 20% of the time is being invested on the mundane task, then the revenue lost is 192 billion rupees, which is a very huge number. So we came to the conclusion that we need to solve a problem of a feature that either solves a problem of revenue lost for accountants or helps in counting compliance issues for freelancers. Now Shimona will talk about possible solutions.
Hi everyone. So now we will look at some possible solutions that we thought of. First solution that we thought was if we can automate the invoice processing with OCR and barcode scanning. Currently, Intuit QuickBooks have that feature. They have OCR barcode scanning feature, but it is limited to single bill scanning. Not if we upload multiple bills, that feature is not there. But barcode scanning feature is itself has to be included yet. The second feature that we thought was if we can provide standardized CSV files for to users who can put their entries into CSV file and upload the file directly so that their invoices are automatically uploaded into the QuickBooks without any human errors. Third feature was that there is no live chat tool available where users can contact the firm for aid in urgent accountancy helps, or there are different customer forums, but they are somehow tedious to go through. So Intuit can provide AI-based chatbot in QuickBooks software. Can you go to next slide? The other feature is that if QuickBooks can directly integrate their application with various freelancing applications like Ola, Uber. So suppose some person who is driving Ola cab, he gets his invoice and that is directly uploaded into the app. That would be a nice feature to have. The other feature that can be there is they can QuickBook can include the deadline reminders, so people can get the various notification that your ROC filing date is approaching. Also, if some new legislation is coming into the India, so users can get the consultancy help from QuickBooks. That would be a good feature to have. And if users can have customizable data backup and recovery option, that would create a more confidence that even they lose their invoices, they would have somewhere in the QuickBooks. And there is some security feature that we can also involve. That suppose I take help from an accountant, there is an MFA feature, but if I can include it on any step of the process, that I can include that I don't want my accountant to go on a specific invoice, I can apply the MFA feature on that. Now Hemant will take you to the prioritization.
Yeah, while trying to prioritize the solutions, we wanted to use the RISE framework, but we identified that there is one major drawback of RISE framework, that it only considers about the customers, but it misses on the business importance part. So basically, we are trying to use a modified version of RISE framework, that is RISE framework. So we tried to calculate the RISE score for each of the possible solutions, and we have here scaled all the parameters to 1 to 3, and then gave a score to each of the parameters on the basis of how have they are impactful, have they the reach, or do we have the confidence that this feature will work or not. So basically these are the features. So and then we calculated the BRICE score is equals to business importance multiplied by reach multiplied by impact multiplied by confidence divided by effort. And using the BRICE score, we identified that the highest two BRICE scores are 1.2 and 1.05 for OCR and barcode scanners and AI based chatbot. So basically, we try to prioritize these two possible solutions, and then about the implementation, Shimona will tell.
So if we go on the back end of the solution, for OCR scanner and barcode scanner, the functionality would remain almost same. We can either buy the OCR scanning technology from the providers, or we can build it from the scratch. So for OCR scanning, we can use AI-based computer vision technology, where first of all, we have to train the data using different invoice images. And then after data is trained, we can do the testing and deploy the feature. This feature might take some time to build, so it's better that we buy it from the providers itself. Same for barcode scanning. Here, computer vision is not required. There are various barcode scanning libraries and APIs that are compatible with technology used in QuickBooks available in the market. We can buy that. And for AI-based chatbot, we can use the neural network-based training for it. So first of all, you have to train the neural network, then test it. And while on UI, we can develop a button or small icon where user can click and he enters his input. His text will be pre-processed, context will be handled, and then the appropriate action will be taken. Actions in this case can be, he might be connected to the live accountants. That will improve the business for live accountants as well. Or he can be given the default replies by the chatbot, which can help him understand when are the deadline reminders are coming. Can you go to next slide? So here on UI, the features would look like this, that there would be two buttons on the top for scanning. And on the bottom right, there would be a chatbot button where when we click, the pop-up would appear.
Yeah, so how will we measure the success of the features that we are trying to add? So basically here we have tried to use the HEART framework that is given by Google. So we first identified what are the goals of each of those parameters and what are the initial signals of success, and then what are the different metrics that could be used for a different parameter. So talking about OCR and barcode feature, so basically we identified that the major improvement area for QuickBooks must be in engagement area and task success. So basically we combined the metrics of engagement and task success and came with a North Star metric of number of receipts correctly scanned per day per user per day. So number of receipts means the user is engaging, correctly scanned means the task is getting success. So we have tried to identify that way our North Star metrics. Similarly, for the chatbot feature, we have also used the same framework and the same logic, that is to have the engagement and task success as a priority. And then we came to the North Star metrics as number of queries resolved per day. So number of queries means number of queries rates will tell us how many times a user is getting engaged with our app, and resolved will tell us if the task is getting success or not. So then apart from these North Star metrics, we will also try to find out some L1 metrics that are of importance. These are few L1 metrics, and then a counter metric for each of the features as well. So basically, since our number of receipts correctly scanned per user per day can sometimes mislead us. So basically we have to have something called as percentage of receipts correctly scanned per user per day. For example, it might be possible that on a particular day there are a lot of number of receipts coming, but so the number is higher, but the percentage of receipts is lesser as compared to other days. So we have a counter metric for that as well. So how will we raise the awareness among our target groups? So for accountants, we will use search engine optimization and put advertisement about new feature on our website's homepage. For inorganically, we tried to talk of some of our CA friends, and we identified that CA Rachna Ranade is very famous personality among the accountants. So we can try to use YouTube influencer marketing and can get the influencer services from Akshay Srivastava or CA Rachna Ranade. Apart from that, we can also use paid search and display advertising as well. Similarly, for the freelancers, we will our organic strategy will remain the same. For inorganically, we can try to collaborate with Swiggy and Zomato and ask them to recommend our app to their delivery executives. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you, team optimizers. That was some impressive frameworks and metrics. Now I would like to invite judges for the Q&A session.
Sure, thank you. An awesome job, Shubhana and Hemant. Especially love the fact that you kept to the time as well. A couple of things which I really liked that you did was you figured out that it was actually a two-sided problem. I love the data that you presented. You did an estimation. Love the take on the price framework as well. A couple of questions from my side would be, like I said, I love that you figured out it's a two-sided problem. There are two users. On one side, you have the self-employed, the freelancers, the gig economy people, and the other side you have accountants. What was not very clear to me, and maybe you can go on the first page where you have actually pointed that out, is what is the pain point that you're solving, and which side are you prioritizing first and why?
Yeah, so basically we are trying to prioritize the pain point of the accountants first, because we've identified that 192 billion rupees is a very huge number, and if we can let's say solve 10% of the problem, it will be 19.2 billion. But while solving that problem, we identified that this feature can also solve the problem of our freelancers as well, because they will also get some knowledge about their accounting policies as well as the compliance issues that are there, and they do not need to go to accountants each and every time from the next time. So they can become self-sufficient as well. So it's like a win-win situation for both of the participants.
Got it. So you're prioritizing the accountant customers first. This is something that you would build for them, starting with that. What is the single one? What is that problem that you're solving for them?
We are trying to solve a problem that accountants can save their time doing this mundane task so that they can provide consulting services to other clients in the same amount of time. So as it was written in the case that they do not want to do this type of work and they want to provide consulting services because this is their major revenue driver.
Got it. Love that. And it's also very important because, hey, most of the time is actually lumped into particular tax filing season. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that. The second point, question which I had was, you brought in the point of chatbot, right? This is for interacting with essentially the customers. Now, do you see any problems with doing that particular feature? Let's say, for example, when you're reaching out to Zomato, right? Do you prefer to speak to a chatbot, or do you want to speak to a live person who can actually answer your question? So think about the situation, right? I'm actually paying somebody to prepare my taxes. Should I be speaking to a chatbot, or should I be speaking to that person itself? So with that in mind, is there anything that you would change? And more importantly, how would you scale, considering that you want to save time for these guys?
Yeah. So basically, this chatbot feature can be an add-on feature that that you are already providing. That is, you can call a person. Basically, since this is an AI-based chatbot, so if there are some FAQs that will be there, and the bot will reply the problem that are commonly asked. So the person need not to call the accountants every time when they faces a problem. So this was kind of the thinking that we used.
Also, we can use chatbot to connect with the live accountants. So suppose I come to the chatbot and I ask that I have this, I need to connect with the live accountant for short duration. What they can do is they can connect us with the person who is there just for 1 or 2 hours. I don't have to directly deploy the accountants with my account for every time.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Got it. Hey, thanks, Shimona and Hemant. I have one question on the experience that you had put together. So if you can go to your experience slide where you had the UI, the front end design. What do you think? This is the self-enabled person accessing this always from their desktop, or do you think mobile has a role to play here as well?
So most of the time, these kind of invoicing tasks, people prefer to do from desktop, but yes, there is an application also. Here we prioritized our UI just for the desktop for once, but this feature is easy to build on the mobile applications also. Just have to put 2 icon buttons on the UI, and on the chatbot. For chatbot, the separate screen would open with the cross button. So that can be easily implementable with the mobiles too.
If you had to prioritize between the desktop and mobile, would you still prioritize desktop or?
So for OCR and barcode scanning, we would prioritize the phone, because the phone is easy, like it is very easy to scan the barcodes and OCR with phones nowadays. But for chatbot feature, we would like to build it on the desktop, because on small screen, chatbot won't create that much impact, but on big screen, it would look good.
Will it only look good, or will it have?
It will have more impact as well. Because suppose I go on the chatbot, the separate window opens on the phone, but on the desktop, it opens in a small pop-ups on the right side. I can close it anytime. So for chatbot, if we are prioritizing chatbot, we would go with desktop, and for OCR scanning, we would go with the phones.
Also, when a person is like filing their taxes or filing their receipts, so basically the person is more going to the desktop version only. They won't file it from the mobile app. That is our understanding. And so if they have any urgent queries, they wouldn't want to go to the mobile app for the chat feature. They should have the chat feature available on the desktop only. So that's how we prioritize chatbot for the desktop.
I'd like to push back on that a little bit and see how you react to this. Most users are actually preferring mobile right now. If you see the penetration of mobile, especially you're talking about self-employed, these folks are, you mentioned about Uber drivers or Ola drivers. They live their life out of mobile. Do you think still they will go to a desktop to do these transactions or interact with their accountants?
Yes, sir, you are right. So we missed that part that the penetration of desktop is not that great among the user base. So yeah, we missed that part. But there is also a possibility that those people might go to cyber cafe if they want to, let's say, fill these receipts. But yeah, we should prioritize it on the mobile first as compared to the desktop app.
One more question, and this is more about your overall prioritization. If you could go to your prioritization slide. In this, if you had to pick just, I know you've put a ranking in there. Is there any smart way of doing some of the high effort item in a simple form? And do you see any opportunity with any of those pieces in here?
High impact item is small effort, you are saying that?
Yeah. Any of these items which you think might be looking as a high effort, but actually, if you think differently, it might turn out to be a not so high effort.
Yeah, so basically, sir, if we can buy the OCR and barcode scanner from some other provider, then it won't be that much of an effort and the impact would be great.
So how do you make that build versus buy decision?
So, sir, for that, we will have to see how many hours is taken to build the technology. Also, do we have the resources for the same? So, suppose I have the resources and it will only take me 1 month to develop that feature. I would definitely develop it myself and it is costing me less too. But if I buy it from other, if I'm buying the license of it or I'm buying the technology itself, and that is less costly for us, we would go with that. But first of all, have to see the resources and time taken.
Do you have any suggestions? Any names that you looked around? Any candidates for that buyout?
No, sir, we haven't seen the candidates. But for OCR and barcode libraries, there are many are available, and like we can directly integrate it to the backend.
Cool. Thank you. Very nice presentation, and thank you so much for all these responses.
Thank you.
Thank you, team optimizers from IIM Lucknow. It was a wonderful presentation, and thank you, judges, for conducting a thought-provoking Q&A. Next, let's go to team Chasm Crosses from IIM Bangalore. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, judges. We are Team Chasm Crossers, here to present our solution for Quickbooks. So Quickbooks is an online accounting software that caters to the needs of self-employed workers and accountants. To set the context, self-employed workers are short on time, have fear of being audited. Tax consultants want to help clients achieve better financial outcomes through high-value advisory services. The critical issues that we identified are self-employed workers currently a lot of friction and anxiety during tax management. Tax consultants want to help self-employed workers, but they have time and scaling constraints. As per the BCG report, India is the second fastest growing freelancer market in the world. There are 15 million freelancers in India and 46% quarter-on-quarter growth in new freelancers. The problem statement is clear. Given the gig economy's tremendous potential, we have to design a product feature that addresses the critical issues for both the stakeholders. Next. To address the problem, we first drew two different user personas. For self-employed workers, we consider dentist and web developer. They are in their late 30s and earning quite well. Both are ambitious and value their time. For tax consultant, we consider an accountant who wants to save clients time while filing taxes and also grow his clientele. Next. So we have summarized the recurring pain points for both user groups through user interviews, secondary research, and Play Store reviews. For self-employed workers, they fear filing wrong taxes, they can't find reliable tax consultants, and there is no community or forum for interactions. For tax consultants, they need to increase clientele and want to choose their preference for advisory consulting. To address these issues, we recommend QuickSearch, which is a discovery cum transaction platform solution. QuickSearch will address the recurring pain points in the following ways. Through QuickSearch, self-employed workers can search for reliable tax consultant and also find answers for FAQs within community. Through QuickSearch, tax consultants can find new clients and increase their revenues. QuickSearch also adds value to QuickBooks by increasing the switching cost for users and helping build a community and also efficiently grow their user base. Next. So our solution QuickSearch is a discovery cum transaction platform within the existing QuickBooks application. It helps self-employed workers find reliable tax consultant and available service. Also, QuickSearch will appear as a new tab in the QuickBooks application. So let's understand the quick search network architecture. On one side, we have self-employed workers. On the other side, we have tax consultant. Each user group values the presence of user on the opposite side. Hence, there are positive cross-site network effects. Each user group values the presence on the same side as well. For instance, more tax consultant will join due to fear of missing out. And similarly, more self-employed workers will join as they value the community. Hence, there are positive same-side effects for each user group. How will the quick search solution add value to the user groups? For self-employed workers, it reduces the search cost of finding TCs. It provides access to a pool of reliable and qualified tax consultants. Quick search also refines its algorithm and prioritizes search results for self-employed workers. Quick search reduces the transaction cost by intermediating between the user groups to create credible contacts. It also ensures reliability of transaction and maintains trust among these user groups. Next. So next we'll understand how the user journey on a quick search looks like. The red star represents our suggestion. The green flowchart represents the self-employed worker journey. He clicks on quick search tab within the QuickBooks. He then searches for tax consultant based on location of priority. If the consultant meets his requirement, he selects the appropriate tax consultant and books an appointment. He can later provide feedback and rate his service. The other flowchart represents the tax consultant journey. First, the tax consultant is verified and onboarded by QuickBooks. For that, he creates a profile in QuickBook. When approved, his profile appears on the quick search results. He can also advertise to appear on top of the search results. Next. So let's look at some user stories for self-employed workers. They should be able to search for tax consultant near their location. They should also be able to view brief details of tax consultant in the search list and filter them based on different criteria. In terms of business impact, our feature will increase user engagement and increase revenue from transactions. We will track some metrics such as number of app downloads, number of users using quick search feature, number of appointments between SEs and TCs. Next. We have also introduced a new community feature which appears at bottom of the QuickBooks application. The self-employed user should be able to search for or create his own community. On the community page, the self-employed user should be able to search for FAQs, write answers to questions, comments, support quality response. In terms of the business impact, the community will facilitate social collaboration, increase customer loyalty, reduce customer support cost, and give new leads for the tax consultant. We'll also track metrics such as Play Store ratings, stickiness, number of questions, responses, supports, and comments in the discussion forum. Next, I hand it over to my teammate Renga.
Thank you, Nishant. So now let us pay attention to the tax consultant or TCs. So whenever I say TC, it's the tax consultant, and SE is self-employed. So as a prerequisite, the TC needs to first register on the website and then log in. Note, there are no two different apps for TCs and SEs. Just the dashboard would be different for a TC. Moving on to the user story, a TC should be able to view different activities such as profile, client list, etc. There would be a calendar to add or modify appointments. And by clicking on the community, a tax consultant will be directed to the SE community, which was shown in the previous slide. The accountant can update her information through QuickBooks Online Accountant web portal. By doing this, we believe TCs can organically build their brand and attract new clientele. TCs get to choose high-value work like consulting. And the metrics would be the number of new TCs enrolling for the platform and the number of new TCs joining to the referral pool. So what we have proposed is not just a feature suggestion, but a shift in the strategy. So let's look how we can create awareness about this new business model that we have proposed. For this, we resort to the hoop model popularized by Neria. As you know, the first step in behavioral change is trigger. It could be external or internal. Some external triggers could be referral programs, partnerships with co-working spaces, YouTubers, and then influencer connect program, which Tally did, and then monthly challenges to engage these SEs. An internal trigger could be something like in-app notifications in QuickBooks app about the new feature. Now, a trigger is useless unless it creates real action, right? So let's have a look at that. Triggered customers could act either based on a gut feeling or based on the rewards they might get. Some TCs will pay to get the promoted tag, and some will have a higher pull towards the referral program. As the platform solution guarantees more visibility, TCs will actively respond to queries from SEs to build a strong brand image. Variable rewards increase the likelihood that we'll keep doing something because we are anticipating a reward, right? Thanks to our business model, TCs promptly support the community to build the brand and grow the clientele. On the other hand, SCs are happy that their queries are answered quickly by experts. This will also increase word of mouth marketing among freelancers and a fear of missing out among TCs who are not in the platform yet. If the rewards for referral program are carefully done and significant, this will again add to the influx of new TCs. Finally, the more users are invested in a product, the more they'll return to use it because of how they rationalize the behavior. Since both SCs and TCs have invested time and money in building the profile, they would be hooked to the model. A habit will be formed, which will lead to increased customer lifetime value for QuickBooks. Now, we believe the platform business model that we have proposed will evolve based on relevant or connected feature requests from business development teams, the resource constraints, and priorities of the company. In terms of timelines, at the end of first month, we would do rapid promotion about the platform. Existing SCs will be able to use the platform and interact with other SCs and start building a community. And by the end of third month, we expect the TCs to become proficient users and add relevant content. Expert SCs also realize the value, network effect kicks in, and more content is added. And by the end of 6 months, more core topics will be added to the community portal and is followed by focused and aggressive promotion in the social media platform that we think would have been efficient. So with this, we come to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your patience, and we are now open to questions.
Thank you, Team Casm Process from IIM Bangalore. That was a very detailed presentation with multiple user stories and feature suggestions. I request the judges to take over and ask questions.
Thank you, Ranganath and Nishant. This was really detailed presentation. I'd like to go to your persona slide, the user persona that you were mentioning, where there's a doctor, there is a developer, and there's a chartered accountant. Is there anything connected between the two left side persona that you have, the supplier side persona, and would you see any other variables here apart from what you just listed?
Yes, correct. So both of these user personas are usually belong to the white collar segment, where their earning potential is high and they come from the high skill category. And since it was mentioned in the case study that the accountants were also looking for other revenue models, like high revenue models with tax consulting, I think these user personas fit the bill. Like, for example, Sapna is a person who works with international tech companies. And thanks to her skill, she'll be able to scale up easily, and her contracts can also go up drastically. So in those cases, it's obviously the ecosystem that can benefit from this.
Yeah, and I like the point that you made about that they have a very overlapping texture to each other, right? They have very similar white collar persona, and they are probably already paying taxes. They are already used to engaging with the accountants, right? Do you see here anything which is missing for the other part of the ecosystem, which is not used to doing taxes today, or not used to doing taxes with accountants today? Can you see any opportunity? Are you seeing any opportunity there? I mean, the previous group talked about Ola and Uber, and there are various other people who are, probably now going to start paying taxes.
Right. So actually, me and my teammate, we discussed on this factor. But the thing is, to begin with, I think we would start with the affluent and the white collar people first. And we'd see how the feature or the platform matures, and then slowly extend to it. Also, like the tax slab is also one more thing. It's like if we consider the average income that Ola or a Uber driver makes is less than the taxable limit, which is 5 lakhs. So I think we'll start with this. We could start with this and then probably explore that. Yeah, but I note that.
Yeah, and also to add, we just wanted to look at individuals who have a stable income, and there'll be more complexity. For example, we felt that probably a delivery guy, his tax statement could be easy to make, but these, for example, Sapna, she deals with international clients as well. So it'd be difficult to manage those tax. So right now we are targeting white collared workers who have a stable and better income.
Do you really think the tax profile of a blue collar worker is actually simple?
I will not say that. It's not that simple. There are, of course, complications, but we thought that, there are other apps that support doctors, like, for example, Practo. So we just wanted to utilize the boom that is going on right now, that all these skilled professionals are coming onto ecosystems. So we read something called as a Remora strategy, right? So just try to ride the wave and then get those trends onto us, then probably stabilize the system and at a later stage include everyone in that. But we never think that it's very easy, and yeah, we have to investigate. We agree that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rakesh. Again, great presentation, guys. What I really loved about the research that you did, I'm not sure if you actually did any primary research, but the fact that you went out and checked out certain reviews, also listed out the primary pain points, I like that. Especially the first pain point for thesis, which said, my first priority is actually attracting new clientele. My question was around the connection between the left side of this table and the right side of this table, right? You said, these are my pain points and quick search is the answer. What were the other options that you considered before narrowing down to quick search?
Okay. So first we were thinking along the lines of feature suggestions. That was our thought process. So we came up with some, like, for example, there is this pain point, that fear and anxiety of wrong tax filing. And then probably we thought that there could be a feature that could automate, or a chatbot or something where the people could interact. But then we thought that would be sort of a limitation to our thinking. So we zoomed out a little bit and thought that a platform or an ecosystem could add value at a larger scale. And it's easier to scale when it's a platform. So that was our thought process behind that.
Got it. Okay. So you did not answer my question, but I see where you're going with that. The second quick question around that is, now what you have said is the biggest problem is really matching. That means, the customers, they want to find a CA or a TC, and TCs want to find new customers. I can get the TC finding new customer part. I'm not so sure about the first one. So the question here is, why? So it's really what we're saying is, hey, you come onto the platform, which is QuickBooks, and then you go and find your CA. Why would people come to QuickBooks to find a CA?
Okay. So first of all, they might not directly come there to hire a CA. First, they might come there to be a part of a community, right? So let's take a dentist or a white collar employee, for example. So he might be just having that fear or anxiety, and he would be just doing Google search for his queries. And if he finds value in a very focused community, that's why we also have a geography-based filter. So, so even if there are location-based events that are happening as promotional events later, so he will be a part of community. That would be the first step to pull him towards the product. And then, as you rightly pointed out, the first step may not be that the user is coming there to hire a CA, but then it could be for the community. And later, as he finds the platform to be value-adding, he could do that. Nishant,
I get that, and I get the hooked pattern that you shared as well. But then again, do think about the use case, right? Hey, think you yourself, or what you have been in your previous life. Is tax filing something that you really feel motivated about? Creating daily engagement. It is something which happens for me once in a year. And it's not exactly the most enjoyable experience, right? Hey, I'm paying money and now I need to fill all these arcane forms. Do you really want to go and, learn more about it, ask questions, engage in the community? It's typically, that 1 year, one in a year, your annual health checkup, right? For example, you need to get this up. So if you have to validate that hypothesis, the hypothesis is, yes, this is something that would create engagement. I should invest in community. People need questions with the answers. How would you validate that?
So just to answer this, I had interviewed with one of the dentists that I put on the profile. So he actually had this anxiety that, so it was in a small city called Trichy in Tamil Nadu. So basically it's like he's a one-man person handling the show. It's like he hires some part-timers to manage the services and things like that. So basically, so just to summarize, I think it's just an ease of mind for him that he's not shelling a lot of money as taxes. There is someone that is making him sure that, yeah, his expenses are being managed. And like, for example, he was saying that he wanted to claim that the laptop that he bought as business expenses and stuff like that. So these are like very easy and low hanging fruits that the community gives that he can follow. So each and every purchase that he makes, he can incorporate those suggestions and move ahead. So this is just dentistry. So there could be other professions like a website center or like all the small businesses and things like that.
Got it. Cool. And it's like, and now it's cool that actually you spoke to somebody in terms of private research. Absolutely love that. So final question, how would you monetize this? Or if you would monetize this?
Okay, so first, that's why we thought that it will be a discovery cum transaction platform. So the transaction as in, so we were thinking that maybe we could charge a commission to the tax consultant if he finds a self-employed person to the platform, through the platform. So that could be one aspect. The other is, so in the community, in the search results, the tax consultants are being listed, right? So if a tax consultant pays, then he can appear on top of the search results. So the algorithm could be prioritized like based on the relevance. Just to take a leaf out of the book of Practo, something like what Practo is doing. So some clinics, so directly doctors cannot advertise their services. So clinics can do that. So clinics can pay QuickBooks to list their services slightly on top if the other relevance factors matches. These are two things that.
And what about the user side? Do remember that QuickBooks has a subscription. So my question then would be, if OLX tomorrow launches, if this does well, right? OLX launches a section called as CA search, which is free, and of course there is promotion, but it's just free for the users. Right. Wouldn't that erode a competitive advantage?
Yeah, but right now I think the users should not be charged additionally because they are already users. I mean, the self-employed persons, they are already paying a subscription fee, and this community will mostly increase their switching cost. But because we saw a lot of competitors like Zoho Books and a lot of other things are also there, and we also have this risk from people like Khatabook, who are already having their own finance management app, and they might come into this territory. So I think we should not monetize the self-employed person side. We can just monetize the this side, the tax consultant.
Awesome. Very provocative thought. Love that. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Raghunathan. Thanks, Nishant. And this was a great presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, judges.
Thank you, team and judges. It was an insightful presentation and an intriguing Q&A session. So now I would like to invite our next team, Team Prod Files from SPJM, to present their idea. Team, you can share your presentation. You guys ready?
Yeah. Can I start?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Team Prod Files, and we are here to present our product recommendations for the Intuit QuickBooks Self-Employed. QuickBooks has been at the forefront when it comes to aiding self-employed workers to track their income, expenses, mileage, and tax info. With the recent growing trend of self-employment, also known as gig work, it's imperative that the self-employed workers and their accountants get all the necessary features in the platforms that they use. So here we are with our recommendations for QuickBooks Self-Employed. Next slide, please. Here we have the basic flow of the customer journey in the QuickBooks Self-Employed. Once a customer logs into the platform, the customer can check the dashboard for the latest figures related to profit, loss, expenses, tax, etc. The customer can also check the invoice box from a drop-down in case invoice generation is necessary. Next, the customer can add and segregate transactions and mileage-related details. In the Taxes tab, the customer can check the income, tax deductions, and tax estimate. Next, the user can generate invoices and reports related to mileage, profit, loss, and tax if necessary before logging out of the platform. Moving on to user personas.
Based on our primary research, we have created 3 user personas, Ram, Ramya, and Rahman, who represent QuickBooks self-employed stakeholders. Ram is a freelance graphic designer whose work is in the digital and print media sector. His income is irregular, and the nature of his work causes him to revise the cost figures he provides his clients multiple times. Ramya is a beautician and a parlor owner. She renders her services for activities like marriages, modeling, etc., and charges her clients based on the number of people served and the duration of her services. The final persona is Rahman, who is an accountant. He has multiple self-employed as well as small business clients for whom he performs accounting tasks and provides tax advice. Next slide, please. Here we have described the pain points that the user personas experience. The pain points that Ram faces are estimate revision, which he has to do manually, lack of investment guidance, and an unavailability of a communication channel with the accountant on the platform. In the case of Ramya, she doesn't have the means to send electronic quotations to her clients. She is also not able to reconcile the income and expense figures on the QuickBooks self-employed platform with her bank account figures. Finally, she has to manually upload the images of her receipts and bills, which leads to data entry errors. Lastly, coming to Rahman, he is not able to track his work progress. He has to edit and track the invoices in case of any errors, which leads to additional work, and he has to manually reconcile his customers' accounts, which takes up a lot of his time. Next slide, please.
Moving on, based on the insights and pain points gathered from our research, we would like to bring forth the 6 features born out of our discussions. The first feature is with respect to digitalizing invoices. QuickBooks Self-Employed has an existing feature where the SEs can take a snapshot of the bills and create and upload the invoices and bills and create a record along with providing additional details. Our feature suggestion is to automate invoice processing with optical character recognition coupled with deep learning techniques. This prevents data entry errors as it captures the details automatically and reduces the need for SEs to create a record for the same. The second feature is to support the SEs with personalized financial suggestions by QuickBooks Self-Employed. As most of the SEs maintain the same account for both personal and professional finances, we would like to implement a recommendation engine to provide real-time guidance for investments and loans. Moving on, bank reconciliation is a major pain point that cropped up during our discussions with the SEs. With this feature, we are aiming to bridge the difference between their bank account and the accounting books. The fourth feature deals with providing an option for creating estimates. This will allow SEs to quote for their work and reduce invoice exception rates. With this feature, the SE can send an estimate request, which can be accepted or requested for a change or declined. Upon acceptance, the estimate will directly be converted into an invoice. When looking from the accountant's point of view, we realized that as they are dealing with multiple clients, they lose track of the amount of work left with individual clients, which results in pile-up in the last quarter. Hence, we propose a progress bar serving as both client-specific and cumulative indicators for the amount of work to be completed. The last feature under discussion was to have an in-app messaging to provide a communication channels between SCs and accountants. Even though this might be redundant, taking into account that there are multiple digital modes of communications, this can help SCs and accountants to set reminders and communicate revisions or changes which can be traced back. Even though we feel compelled and excited about these new features, we want to focus on only one feature. Based on the indicators such as conversion rate, effort, cost, and customer satisfaction, which are out a prioritization matrix which helped us to pursue the estimate generation feature as it had the most impact when compared with the other features under discussion. Even though we are aware that this is available in QuickBooks Online, we would like to suggest it for QuickBooks Self-Employed. Let's examine the estimate generation feature in detail. As mentioned earlier, the SCs would create an estimate and send it over mail for acceptance or review and post that it will be converted into an invoice. Looking at the value proposition, SCs majorly depend on freelancing and requires to float their quotations or bids to secure the contract. Hence, estimate generation will come in handy. The users can capture more clients and get a better perspective of their work plan so as to adjust it accordingly in the future. The hassle-free conversion allows SCs to accommodate any changes before converting it to an invoice. On the other hand, the value proposition for QuickBooks Self-Employed is the increased acquisition and retention, as it is the one feature which SC lacks compared to other competitors in the domain. There would be an increase in the referrals by accountants as we have transformed the key low value service and automated it, which helps accountants also from the hassle of dealing with multiple invoices raised with revisions. Before proceeding further, we would like to state our assumptions that we have considered that SC's work will be done only in online and SCs do extensively use digital mode of communication.
Thanks, Nirmal. Now let us look at the feature description. The user journey of estimate generation starts with the Estimates tab in the Invoices section. This tab has various options of creating and listing the estimates. The first major section is the Create Estimate feature. This feature allows the user to create a new estimate by providing details about various offerings, price, and the customer details. The estimates thus created can either be sent to the customer or saved as a draft for future use. The next section involves sending the created estimate through an interactive email and getting a response for the estimate. The response of the customer is directly stored in the database against the created estimate in order to know its status. Moving on to the next slide. The next section is converting estimates to invoices. In this section, we are providing an option for the user to directly convert the accepted estimate into invoice or retainer's invoice. In case of multiple estimates for a single customer, users can also have an option to clone those estimates into a single invoice and send it to the customer. Additionally, users can also use the filter options to filter out the estimates based on different attributes like created date, name, etc. Choose from different template styles and also add the estimates generated as an attachment. Moving on to the next slide. Now let us look at the positioning of the estimates generation feature. We are proposing to position the estimates tab in the invoices section, but before the invoices tab to indicate that the estimates are a precursor to invoice generation. In order to generate customer awareness, we propose to promote the feature using a tagline as estimates where your business begins. Users can be notified through an in-app walkthrough video, email campaigns, and even tagging the new tab as new. A help center article can also be built to help the users to familiarize with the feature. Finally, we also propose to add a footer like powered by QuickBooks Self-Employed and all the generated estimates that are sent out to customers, to our users' customers. Moving on to the next slide. These are some of the user stories that our product recommendation will fulfill. Our recommendation provides support to all the stakeholders of the QuickBooks Self-Employed portal. We have also identified different metrics which are customized for our feature that will help us to evaluate our product recommendation. The metrics like invoice exception rate, number of estimates processed in a day, number of estimate iterations, and straight-through invoices prove that the estimate generation feature would add a significant value to the users as well as QuickBooks Self-Employed. Finally, we sincerely thank the jury and also fellow participants for listening to our presentation, and we are open to questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Profiles. Lokesh, is it okay if I can go first?
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, we are also on virtually, right? So we need to do these checks. First of all, is the team's lucky character, because all persona names actually started from R, but none of you actually start from R. It's Ram, Ramya, and Rahman. Any significance there?
We just were interviewing few other personas and we named it as such to have a rhyming.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, and that is supposed to be a small joke. Why? Because I'm not sure why we are being so serious. Remember, this is not Shark Tank. We do not have any money to give, so that way you can just relax. I like the fact, a couple of things, which I really like the fact that was, you guys called out the customer journey. That means you've gone inside the product and you actually understood what actually happens today. Number two, I also liked out the fact that when you propose a solution, you called out assumptions. Calling out assumptions and understanding how we can validate is really the bread and butter of what product managers do, right? It's a huge part of risk assessment. So I really like that. What I also could discern is you have gone out and read online reviews for QuickBooks Self-Employed, because estimates is something which is called out, especially when you compare it to Wave, which has estimates, and QuickBooks Online, which has estimates. But the thing which I need to ask you guys is, how much of the target segment, which is self-employed freelancers in this case, will actually use estimates?
Sir, I would like to take this question. So, sir, the freelancers or all the small businesses, so our thought process was like that. So when we go to some freelancer or beautician for that case, or some catering contractor, the first thing that we'll ask for to them is just give an estimate for whatever the things that we're asking for. So the business actually begins with an estimate, and it ends with the invoice generation. So the beginning part, which is like they will have so many conversations with the freelancer or the business contractor whom we are interacting to for the estimates, because we'll ask for an estimate, they'll give an estimate, and then we'll modify something, and then we'll ask for another estimate and they'll give another one. So it will be like a more tedious process, and most of those estimate conversations are being done informally, like in WhatsApp or like by meeting in person or like that. So we don't have something on record or something that we can track. So that's how this idea popped up.
I get that. Like I said, and I can see where the trigger came from, that the online reviews. But think about it, right? What we are talking about is how do we get accountants and self-employed to actually work together, so that they have the confidence 65% piece of it. Estimates is something which can improve the product, no doubt. But what my curiosity is, we talked about, all of you have actually talked about the personas of the customers, right? We have talked about dentists, we have talked about drivers, we have talked about project-based businesses, like you called out, caterers or even construction. Typically, estimates is used by project-based businesses where you have a definite activity to be performed, and then you would say, this is probably what's going to cost me. So that is a certain particular segment. Like I said, did you guys do an estimation of how many times estimates will actually be used? And if you did, you decided to narrow focus down to this particular segment, and I'm curious why.
Yes, sir. So as you mentioned, so this would be more popular or useful with respect to white collar jobs or white collar workers than the blue collar workers like Swiggy and Zomato delivery guys. But this feature, if somebody is willing to onboard to QuickBooks Self-Employed, then we presume that this majority of lot would be having a small business or freelancers who would be putting up their bids in sites and would be looking out for it. That's our consideration why we looked after to or narrowing down to estimate generation, and we didn't quite clearly, or we didn't elaborate our scope to include the blue collar workers as well.
Got it. Cool. That's what I had, Lokesh.
Cool. No, thank you. Great presentation, team. I had a question about the overall prioritization, and when you zero down on estimates as a feature, I understood that the approach that you've taken. Within that, how would you go about creating an experience for the user? Where would it start, and where would it finally help the user to connect with the accountant? How are you connecting these 2 points, that the user starts out as a big problem, and then how is the accountant coming into the picture here?
Yes. So with respect to when we are talking with few of our CA friends and people who are using accounting book softwares, what they told us, whenever there is a revision for invoices, there will be multiple such invoice which will be having revision, and finally the accountants need to sort out through it and figure out which is the final invoice which needs to be taken into consideration. So with this feature, what we're proposing is the invoice exception rate will be low, and because of that, the accountants will not have any hassle to sort out through this, because with respect to the problem statement, what we have figured is there is a major role for SC to play in, and accountants are also the person who will be onboarding it. So we are trying to ease in the process or help the accountants in this way. And along with it, we are also providing a feature where the SCs would be happy with it, or who will onboard to our software compared with the other competitors in the domain.
So you're saying that the SEs in the process of having an estimate sent out to their customers and that getting converted to an invoice solves the problem of they sending these invoices to the accountants in a physical form, and as a result, they can fast file their taxes. Is that what you're proposing, the whole flow?
Yes, sir. So to be precise, they won't be having multiple invoice revisions or multiple invoices to the same vendor with revisions. So we are preventing that.
Okay. And you also mentioned about the overall prioritization of feature estimate generation. If you go to that slide, there was one slide that you had. Not this one. If you go back to the prioritized feature, I think you said, yeah, this one. In this, when the user is actually creating an invoice or creating an estimate and sending out to their customers, how does it happen today? Do you know how our users are doing this, or have you spoken to anyone? How is this process done today?
Yes, sir. So with respect to in current format, let's say if they're using Zoho Books or Zero, they are having their own estimate generation, where initially before sending out an invoice, they would initially have a conversation, and then they would send an invoice, they would send an estimate, and once the estimate gets confirmed, then they would again send an invoice. There is, in case if they want to convert it directly,
sorry to interject you.
Sorry.
So you're saying that the users are sending these invoices through the product itself, or estimates through the product itself, or are they doing something else offline?
So in separate legacy systems, they would be having third-party plugins which they will be using, softwares where we can use for estimates and accounting, invoice generation. But here in the whatever competitor products which we check with, for example, Xero, or even for that example, FreshBooks, they are having their own estimate generation feature in it. So they are generating estimates through their software.
Yeah, and how are the users that you are targeting right now in India? How are they generating this? One of you mentioned that, and I just want to go back to that point. One of you mentioned that they're doing something today.
They would be having a physical conversation or conversation apart from the system or software. So they would be communicating physically, where they would send their bits or have a conversation in the other modes of communication than the software.
I think Lavanya, you said something.
Yes, sir. So basically, when we converse with some freelancers, it will be like through WhatsApp or other social media platforms or some informal ways. Okay. So they will send the estimates. So they send the quotations first of all. For example, if I'm going to the beautician and asking for a marriage contract, then he or she will send the quotations directly either through Instagram or through WhatsApp message. And then I'll just check it out and then reach out to them again by giving the suggestions that I wanted to have and not want to have. And again, they'll prepare another estimate and send it again as another WhatsApp message. And again, so this conversation will go on and on. And then till we just finalize the estimates and finalize the entire.
Just hold on to that thought. And now going back to what you all proposed, sending an invoice or estimate from within the product to the end customers. Do you think the end customers will receive this on email, or what will be, how are they going to receive this?
It is going to be on email, sir.
Email, okay.
But it will be an interactive email. Like it will have 3 options like accept, reject, or on hold. So whatever they give there on the interactive email, so it will be directly stored. So when we check, right, so we will know that whether they have accepted or rejected or it is on hold. Because when we kept it because there's another pain point that when they send the estimates and we keep on thinking on it and they have to again and again come and ask us like whether we are okay with the estimates or whether we need some other changes in the estimates or not. So with this status, the SEs will know that okay, it's on hold, okay, it's accepted, okay, it's not, it's rejected, and we have to do something.
So if you were one of those customers who were receiving these emails back and forth, what would you say to the SE? And would you not just call up and say, tell me what's the estimate, send it to me on WhatsApp, and just quickly negotiate instead of going to your email, going back and forth within the systems recording this? Is there a different behavior that actually on the ground happens, which you could leverage in your solutioning?
Yes. So basically, if we are going to have it in the email format, then we can able to track the changes, whatever is happening. So we can able to have it in a different app, or we can able to chat through WhatsApp and say, these are the changes which we need to be made. But we can't able to track back to the client's request, because clients can't able to give the requirements properly at every point of time. So finally, they can come back and say that this is what we have agreed upon, but we can able to trace back to whatever changes and revisions we have made. And that's what we are fulfilling. And apart from that, when they are sending it back for request, when they are requesting for changes, that will be coming up to us and we will be doing the changes. We can able to minimize the changes with respect to that. As if you're going to communicate via WhatsApp or some other channel, we might have a misunderstanding and we might not able to fulfill it properly. That's what we thought.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Have a good one.
Awesome. Good job, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Team Cloudfiles. It was a user story-driven presentation, and I hope Ram, Ramya, and Rahman will have an easy life using their feature suggestions. Thank you, judges, for connecting a stimulating Q&A. We will have a break for 5 minutes now, and team benchmarkers, please be ready after the break.
See you guys in 5 minutes.
So, the other participants here, team benchmark vendors.
Yeah, we are here.
So you can share your screen.
Judges, are we good to go?
Yeah, let's do.
Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely. Yeah. Good.
You guys ready?
Yeah, ready.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Nihar, can you put it on full screen?
1 second.
Sure, thank you. Yeah. So, hi everyone, we're Team Benchmark Vendors, and we'll start with our presentation by identifying the user persona. So, like we observed the problem statement, we observed that QuickBooks is used primarily by two different types of persona primarily. So we have the accountant's point of view as well as the self-employed person's point of view. So here we have the pain points listed for each of those. For the accountant side, it is we're saying that this is a chartered accountant, Anant, with quite a few years of experience, and he likes to work with individual clients, and he wants to provide advisory services primarily. So the pain points that he faces when working with a freelancer or a self-employed person is that it's a new landscape for him. So he has a hard time figuring out the different expenses that are there, the different business expenses, what qualifies for a deduction, and how it is related to their personal accounts. All of these are different pain points that he has to face. He also has to manually go through each client's investment plans to understand what the best way is to optimize their benefits that they get from it, from the tax side of things. So what he would like to have is a central interface of some sort where he can easily analyze what the client's financial goals are and provide the advice according to that. On the other side, we have self-employed Simran, who is new to the landscape of being a freelancer. So she recently quit her job to become a freelance musician. And the pain points that she's facing is that this is a very new landscape for her. From having a stable job and a stable salary, it is very different for her to manage her expenses, to understand what is different, and moving on to a lot of subjective sources of expenses that she does not know how to classify into different tax returns. She also has a hard time explaining the nature of her expenses, the nature of her job, to an accountant who is not used to different types of freelance gigs that are available. And she also needs advice on how to best leverage her earnings in the form of investments so that she can reach her goals, financial goals that she has. Next slide. Yeah, so based on these pain points, based on a bit of research that we did, we defined the problem statement. So starting with primary research, what we did was we talked to an accountant as well as a freelance musician to understand the different requirements that they would have from an app like QuickBooks. So from our primary research, what we found out is that accountants would want to use the latest technology that is available to compile all the data that they have from their client and provide the right advice. So they prefer giving advice rather than tracking small menial tasks that they have to do to track what the different kinds of expenses are and things like that. They would rather provide financial advice so that the client could achieve their goals. Also, self-employed individuals, they would like to know how they can improve their financials by making the optimized and right investment decisions and get the best tax benefits that they can get from their expenses as well. And we also we used the test drive version of QuickBooks, of the QuickBooks interface, to understand and analyze the value addition that we could have from any new feature that we have.
Moving on to secondary research. So what we found out from secondary research is that individuals often don't know how to take assistance from an accountant and how they can estimate their taxes beyond the TDS that they obtain from their employer. So this is what we usually observe for any one with a stable job. Now, coming to self-employed individuals specifically, they often require investment advice with respect to mutual funds or something that can generate capital returns. And they also require investments that maximize all categories of investments that can provide benefits to them. And also self-employed individuals, they can avail reductions on business expenses. And because the nature of self-employment is so subjective, it is important that they get the right advice on what expenses that they can avail deductions on. So from this research and analyzing the pain points that different user personas have, the main problems that have to be addressed can be condensed down to 2 points. Which are self-employed individuals need guidance to make good investment decisions that offer the best tax deductions. And the accountants need an easy platform to view their clients' financials in one place. So this boils down to our problem statement, which is that the application needs to provide an interface to the accountant and the self-employed client such that they can easily view all financials, transactions, investments, and all associated tax deductions. The client should also be able to avail services seeking advice from accountants to make the right decisions for their investments. Next slide. Yeah, so now that we have identified what the problem statement is, we wanted to break it down into user stories and prioritize based on the Moscow framework, which we've used, to understand which feature that we need to focus on primarily and analyze going forward. So for a self-employed individual, the ones that we have seen are they want to track their investments so that they can know their expected income in the future. This we have tagged according to the Moscow framework as a could have, because this is a big bet that we take. And the next one is to pay minimum tax possible while staying in the legal limits and maximize their net income using that. This is a must have. So this is what we have classified as a must have based on the research that we've done and the pain points that we've arrived at. The next one is to get the right financial advice based on their goals. And this is to understand where they need to invest to maximize their returns. And this is also could have. Also to reduce their effort in maintaining records so they can focus more on their work. So if it is a self-employed person like Simran that we saw in the previous slide, we would want to, they're new to the landscape. So they would want to spend more time on their actual business rather than spending time on understanding their accounts. So this is a should have, and this is something that we've discovered is something that already exists. Now coming to the accountant, they want to see all the client's financials in one place so that they can file the income tax returns correctly. This is a must-have because this is the main pain point that we have identified. And the second one is to get as many clients as possible so that they can maximize their own income. So this is basically to provide a publicity of the CA services so that they can personalize their recommendations. They also would like to minimize time spent in filing taxes and also to provide tax planning advice. So based on this, we have decided that the must-haves are the investment decisions that they have, that the self-employed individual must make, and the accountant to be able to see the financials in one place.
Coming to the strategy that we have in mind, so what we identified after going through the QuickBooks self-drive was that for a freelance individual, there are not just business expenses which can be claimed for tax deduction. There are also personal expenses that can be claimed. So that was one thing where we found that could be added, and we to identify the severity of the problem and the solution, we spoke to accountants and self-employed people to about the issues revolving around personal deduction. So for the people who are not aware about what personal deductions exactly to make depending upon your goals, this we felt would be a great feature. And Coming to the action plan, we decided to add a personal expenses feature in the application in order to make the tracking easy. So while doing that, we have made a few assumptions. The first thing is that the product is curtailed for India as of now and the tax laws that were currently applicable. The second one is the location of the user is trackable with permission. The third, that we have considered the desktop version of the application, because what we found was for the self-drive, self-test app was a desktop version. Now, coming to the final feature description. So this is what we call the personal deductions section, which are given the Indian tax laws, there are a number of sections that are available in the within our tax laws that help us claim tax deductions. Other than that, we have also added a feature wherein to get the accountants on board, where it can serve as a mechanism for accountants to publicize themselves to the people who are filing their taxes. So that's where we have a section where popular in the city, the accountants are popular in the city, and you would want to connect them.
Team Benchmark vendors, please end your presentation in next 20 seconds.
Okay. Now this is the feature description that we have.
Sure, guys. I mean, we can quickly go through that, and if there is any point to be called out, that would be.
Okay. So yeah, this is the market positioning that we thought that we wanted to let the user say more with the least hassle, and we get best financial advice from the experts.
Yeah, so for feature awareness, we wanted to make sure that it's communicated to customers correctly. So we wanted to add a banner on the main page announcing the feature. Along with that, a label highlighting the tab that a new feature has been added here. Additional blog post explaining the usability of the feature and general FAQs will be emailed to the clients, will be emailed to the customers, as well as will be available on the websites. Next slide. As for the metrics, we decided to go with a hard framework to evaluate the performance of a new feature. From the PM's point of view, these were the metrics that we decided to observe. And also from engineering manager perspective, defects were weak, lead time, time to code review can be analyzed so that they can improve the technical feasibility of the solution. For customer care, to improve the customer experience, average customer support ticket resolution time, the number of tickets which were received for the feature, along with the complexity of the received tickets, can help to improve the customer experience. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Just requesting you to go ahead with the Q&A session.
Thank you, team Benchmark vendors. I have a question on, you mentioned about in your Moscow framework, between the self-employed and the accountants, they reduce my effort in maintaining records. This is on the self-employed side, this is existing. And on the accountant side, you're saying that's exactly the quick win. How are you relating these two?
Okay, so on the self-employed side, what we're saying is that they want to reduce their effort in maintaining records. So what we're saying that it already exists because QuickBooks already maintains receipts digitally, and it helps in tracking the business and personal expenses. On the accountant side of things, we want to provide an interface that compiles all of it in one place. So that is the must-have that we have classified over here. So the income, expense, deductions, all of that has to be available in one place for the accountant to be able to see, so that the proofs of all of that are also available along with that. So on the accountant side, they should be able to view the client's investments, and all of that should be tracked in one place. That is just the difference that we're making. So the self-employed individual should just be able to reduce the effort that they are putting in maintaining those records. That is the difference.
Yeah, but if it's already existing on the self-employed side, how can that not be available for the accountants? It should be there, right? So is that a gap that you're addressing, that it doesn't happen today? Is that what you're saying?
No, so what we are planning to say is that for the self-employed individual, maintaining records is basically maintaining the receipts that he receives throughout the year and facilitating the ease of that. For an accountant is that the income, the expenses, it's not basically just limited to receipts. the income, the expenses, and all all these things can be classified under what all deductions. If at all I have it in one place, it would be easier for me to assist my client.
Okay. The other question I have is on what is the data telling you for both the self-employed side and the accountant side? In your research, what came out? I could not see that in your slide, at least what you presented. So, is there anything specific that probably you did not get a chance to present?
So, sir, as far as the data that goes, that we came to know that first thing while we were analyzing from the Indian context, we realized that a lot of freelance workers that are there, they are most of the professions that we have, like the drivers and all, they do not have a very high income. But at the same time, they also would not be some people who would be required or who actually file taxes that regularly, because I mean their income falls below a certain limit. But there are also some self-employed individuals like doctors, and there are contractors who earn through freelancing, and they would be the ones who would be using this. So for them, the personal investment section makes sense because their income is higher and they would want to save more taxes. And in other than that, there were other research that we conducted with the CA and a freelance musician. So another feature that we thought of was related to calculation of capital gains tax from your stock trading and investment, but that seemed fairly complex to us given the new AIS statement and everything that has come up. So this was what we inferred from our research.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thanks for the presentation, guys. What I really liked was the structure, especially the beginning of the presentation. The research, again, you went down to test drive and actually checked it out. There were a few things that you actually called out. For example, maintenance of receipts, tracking of expenses, which already exist. Good job with that, because, yes, that's exactly the point. These are the things which are already there. So the question becomes, then what is the problem to begin with? Also, the benefit that you called out, maximizing of tax refund, actually, I like that as well. I don't know if you would notice, that is actually a very powerful, one of the things that PMs have to call out is, how do I communicate this to my customers? What do they care about? So using a number, for example, like if you would have seen a self-employed ad, it says $4,700 in tax deductions. Yeah. That is a very powerful number that people will automatically hook onto. So I really like that. My question is actually, I was slightly confused between this slide, the next slide, and the solution itself. And admittedly, we didn't get a lot of time to go through that. The reason for that is, for this particular slide, we are almost at somewhere between the self-employed / proprietor and a personal income tax category. In fact, some of the places you actually mentioned that, hey, getting it from the employer, that's not exactly true. That is meant for personal tax pieces. But let's generalize that. What you identified initially was the fact that, hey, an accountant and the self-employed or the customer in this case need to be on the same page. Then you came here and then you talked about personal deduction, right? When you said, hey, when it comes to personal deductions, I need to leverage the tax benefit in the filing process. And then you actually went to saying, the deductions, do you remember personal deductions in this case, or, for the tax purpose for maximizing refund for self-employed actually tends to be, what is the difference between, and I'm sorry, I'm going deeper into this, but the reason for, there's a very important point here. For a self-employed individual, the benefit that they get is I can claim things which employed people can't. See, for example, if I have an internet connection at my home, if I'm paying for a dinner, etc., I can claim that as an expense. So deductions means, have I spent it for a personal or a business expense? And if you identify it correctly, your deduction goes up, and that's what leads to higher than $4,700. That's exactly the premise of the entire solution. That's why this is important. So this and the next one, I'm not able to connect the two. So how does this lead to an increase in my tax deduction?
So increase in my tax deduction is that what we thought from a self-employed individual's perspective was that QuickBooks covers business expenses very comprehensively. It gives you a lot of headers to claim those things. But if I am a self-employed individual, I am also eligible for personal deductions. So now giving a holistic idea wherein I actually want to know that I want to completely exhaust So while this personal deduction thing is not limited to self-employed individuals, but it is something that they do avail of if they have the required income, and they can claim deductions under these slabs. So if I want to actually maximize the benefit, I as a self-employed individual, I can claim my business expenses also as well as my personal expenses. So the personal expenses part, we felt if at all incorporated in the same application, I would get the correct picture of how much can I save by investing or by say if I have expenses like home loans and education loan, through how all that can be come into the picture and help me save money.
Got it. Sorry, I'm cutting you short. Yeah, the reason is we are pulled on time. But very quickly. So yeah, the reason why it's not there is because self-employed is only meant for the US and you do not have these sections there. But point taken, saying bring them on the same page makes sense. Now, what if I told you that the problem is not having the section? The problem is the follow-up, right? If you guys have worked, remember in January when you need to submit those documents, now somebody has to check those documents and then documents are missing and then you need to go back and you need to ask for that documents. Guess what? In normal company, people will just say, I'm not considering it. Here the CA can't because you're getting paid. The time gets spent in terms of getting these documents. So how would your solution evolve?
So if I understand the question correctly, it is basically the CA following up with the client that you give me these documents so that I can do the process correctly. Is the question this? Yeah. So in this case, whenever there is a transaction that is being done when it comes to these headers, so the user can update it then and there whenever that user has done that transaction. And while I am an accountant, I'm advising my client to get into these kind of investments or telling him that, okay, there are headers available. So this is basically serves as a nice, we feel a nice coordinating mechanism that everything is just in one place. And I mean, instead of involving the channel of communication on the application, I feel that given our assumption is India, I would not bother to go through a lot of written content or use that much of technology. I'd rather prefer calling up my CA that, okay, what do I need to do? And that's how traditionally the processes have been going on from what we figured out from a practicing CA. So instead of involving a channel of communication, we just thought that we could just facilitate the ease of tracking.
Got it. Cool. Awesome. Interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to call out one thing. I think you all did a great job on identifying the persona and the details around the persona and the nuances of that when you structured that. Good job on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, team Benchmark Vendors from for a wonderful presentation. And thank you, judges, for an intriguing Q&A. Can you have team Broadband from IIM Bangalore next?
Just to confirm, can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
And am I audible as well?
We can hear you, Anurag, but you're breaking up.
Yeah, but you are not very audible, but I could hear very clearly.
Okay, just give us one quick second.
All right. We have a very intermittent internet connection today, and hence the issues. Is it fine now?
It is better. Did you get into a better internet coverage or Wi-Fi coverage?
Yeah, I moved.
No, we are at the best. It's both with the Wi-Fi and with the hotspot that we are having issues today. Sorry for that.
Switch off your cameras if that helps in this case.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Story of our life, guys. We do this every day as well.
Story of our. Is it fine now? Is it better?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
So I'll start. Hi, formally, good afternoon. We would like to start our presentation with a thanks to Intuit and SPGIMR for giving us the opportunity to present our solution to this thought-provoking problem in the final round. We are all familiar with the problem statement. Hence, I will just highlight some key points from the problem statement to build our story. We imagine QuickBooks SE as a platform subject to positive cross-site network effects. That is, the more self-employed users on the platform on one side, the more value is created for the accountants on the other side, and vice versa. Hence, a feature that connects them both by fixing their major highlighted pain points can help us to keep both these entities actively engaged on the platform. To address the problem better, we came up with 4 personas, each with a distinct opportunity and a pain point. We have freelancer Fred, who is a web designer, actively seeking financial advice. He does not understand complex text processes and would value someone who can help him when he needs it in a simple way. Alexa is an experienced accountant. She values high value services but finds less opportunities throughout the year. Her clients hand over a big box of receipts at the end of the year, and she finds it difficult to make them submit the receipts uniformly. Cafe owner Charlie is quite similar to our first persona Fred. However, he is a cafe owner and therefore becomes quite anxious when it comes to his compliance to tax rules. He wants to do his business properly but lacks trusted expert advices. Barista Brad works 2 jobs and therefore quite confused on how to do his taxes systematically. He's ambitious and always interested in a good financial advice that can help him invest some of his savings. I'll now pass on to Mudit to help us with the solutions that we came up with.
Thanks, Anurag. To address the pain points and needs of the aforementioned personas, we came up with a couple of solutions. Solution 1 presents personalized advice and recommendations generated by the accountants for the users, including both tax savings as well as financial advice. Here, the users will receive the recommendation in the form of a notification, clicking on which will take them to the recommendation details screen. The first recommendation will be free, followed by a prompt to the user to pay if they find the recommendation beneficial next time onwards. A major part of the payment goes to the accountant to keep them motivated for better suggestions. Our second solution is to introduce a status bar and progress reward section on the home screen, as well as another user profile section of QBSE, which will gamify the received upload work for the client. The goals will be set with the help of accountant, and the clients will be rewarded with coins on completion of goals indicated by the progress bar, which can be redeemed for discounts on the recommendation charges or other rewards. These coins will be rewarded even when the client refers any new client to the QBSE portal, and that referral completes his or her first transaction. Next slide, please. Next, we identified certain risks and assumptions associated with our proposed solutions. The assumptions identified are that the clients will be interested in going through the suggestions and will try to make use of it and find it valuable. Secondly, the clients will be willing to pay for the personalized recommendations. And lastly, the accountants will find providing personalized recommendations as a high value service or service offering and will be motivated to do the same. Coming to the identified risks, an ethical risk could be that the accountants can provide this service to the clients outside the Intuit ecosystem. And the legal risk can be that a client can hold Intuit responsible in case any suggestion does not work or yields negative results. Next slide, please. We iterated the features based on our proposed solutions and subsequently designed the wireframes for each feature. Here are a few highlights of a personalized recommendations feature. This feature involves personalized recommendations to the user by the accountant for improving tax savings along with providing investment tips. As can be seen in the first wireframe, the in-app notifications will be visible in the form of bell icon alerts to the client. Clicking on the notification will take the client to a new screen, which will have details about the suggestion provided by the accountant. As depicted in the second wireframe, the suggestion screen will include the description of the suggestion, actions required to be taken by a client to try out the suggestion, and the expected benefit for the client. In case the client needs more detail, there will be an option for call or one-on-one free of cost. And if the client has viewed first recommendation, to view any subsequent recommendation, the client will have to pay a predetermined charge. Next slide, please. Now coming to the second feature.
Hey, Anurag, sorry, you're breaking up. Could you
This feature will involve a status or progress bar that will be...
Hey, Anurag, sorry, you're still breaking up.
Am I audible now?
You are audible. It's breaking intermittently, and I also did not caught the monetization call out in the last slide. The last piece that you said was
sure. Can I repeat from there?
Yeah, the last slide, the last point that you made, right? When they have to do a specific charge. What is that about?
Sure. Is it fine now? Just wanted to confirm.
Yeah.
All right. So I said that the first recommendation will be available free of cost. And if the client has viewed first recommendation, to view any subsequent recommendations, the client will have to pay a predetermined charge.
Okay.
Can I move on to the next slide?
Yeah.
All right. So now coming to the second feature. This feature will involve a status or progress bar that will be displayed on the home screen and will indicate whether the client is uploading her bill on time. As visible in the first wireframe, the coins as rewards for every progress made will also be displayed at the top of the home screen. As depicted in the second wireframe, both the coins as well as the status bar will also be present under the client profile section, so that the client is able to view the current status and the rewards earned as well as the rewards available. So the reward screen will include the status bar as well as the rewards history and the available rewards for the client. The accountant will also be able to view the progress status of a client under the client's profile. Next slide, please. Next, we broke down the respective features into user stories and prioritized them according to the Moscow prioritization technique. In the interest of time, I will just mention the must-have user stories for each feature. For the recommendations feature, we have the user story as a QBSE client, I want to click on the suggestion notification on the home screen so that I can go to the suggestion details screen to view the suggestion details. And for the rewards feature, our user story states that as a QBSE client, I want to view the progress status of my completed tasks on the QBSE home screen so that I can check my task status and complete my tasks on time. Now, Abhinav will take you further through the feature positioning and awareness as well as the suggested metrics.
Thanks, Mudit. So now we'll take a look at the GTM at high level. First and foremost, the target market, we are taking a look at the already existing customers of the QuickBook, which are estimated to be around 1 million in 2020. So we did a rough back paper calculation and we found out that the feature, the recommendation feature can lead to an incremental revenue of close to $35.8 million per annum. In terms of value proposition and product messaging, for the accountant, it offers them an advantage to offer a high value service to the customer, hence they can generate the value for themselves. And for the users, it offers them an opportunity to get the investment ideas and save more from the trusted and motivated advisors. In terms of pricing strategy, as we discussed, the first suggestion would be free of the cost, and going forward, the next suggestions onwards, we'll charge 5% commission on the savings and estimated returns. For the progress bar feature, we will start crediting the coins in the user's account after completion of 25% of the milestone. In terms of distribution plan, we will first plan to release a beta version, which will cater to the mid-tier clients mostly and ensure dedicated customer support. Then we will track metrics and feedback to incorporate changes before the full release. Now for awareness and marketing, the app users will be notified by the alerts. So for the suggestion features, this will create the awareness. We plan to create a digital marketing campaigns, which will enforce our value proposition of QBSE being a one-stop solution for all things in finance. Also, emails with referral bonus can help us to bring new users on the platform. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at how can we measure the success of these features. We have categorized the metrics in 3 categories. The first one is for product manager. Here we are taking a look at the notification CTR, which will help us to understand how much interest a user has in the notifications which the accountant will be providing to them. Also, bounce rate will help us in understanding whether the users are actually finding the notifications to be valuable. Some other metrics include average time spent on recommendations per page per user, number of clicks on the contact accountant icon, and the progress bars completed. In terms of engineering manager, we are mainly catering to the metrics related to the defects. And we'll also take a look at the average sprint velocity to track the development progress. For customer care, number of tickets generated for new features, average ticket resolution time, and customer satisfaction survey. Our North Star metric would be additional revenue generated through suggestions, which can be measured on quarterly or annual basis. With this, we'd like to end our presentation and we are open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Cloudman. It was a very insightful presentation, and those are some well-designed wireframes. I would like to hand it over to the judges for a Q&A session.
Sure. Hey, thanks for the presentation. I know you all face challenges with your network. So don't worry about that. I think we fared better all through.
Thank you, Lokesh. And we are sorry again.
No worries. Hey, I really love the way you structured this whole flow, and special callouts on the assumptions and the risks that you highlighted there. Also, the details on the user personas and the insights that you got out of it. Also, want to call out the detailed wireframes that you had. I think it's expressed the flow very well. I could walk through what are you really thinking there, and how you're taking us through the steps one to the other and the overall user journey. I have a question on the user stories, and if you are okay to bring that slide up back, are you able to bring that slide up? The user story and associated benefit slide that you had. Like, do you have any view on how these highest prioritized items? What is the kind of effort involved in this? Do you think these are quick to do, or they are going to be hard to do? Do you have any view on that?
Yes, Lokesh. Sir, when we started with the prioritization of these user stories, we used two methods. One with Moscow technique, we tried once, and then with the value effort matrix. But for both these prioritization techniques, we came up with the same sequential flow of the user stories. So for the first feature, that is the recommendations feature, we thought that initially it's a must for a client to click on the suggestion which comes up as a alert box or a bell icon, right? And when the client clicks on that bell icon, the recommendation page comes up. So for us, these two were the must-haves. And then I would say that the call or the chat option for the recommendations feature, we thought we can have it afterwards, even though it does not take much effort, but as compared to the first two screens and their importance, right? We thought we can include it in the could have or the would have.
Can I add something to that? So in terms of complexity, the recommendation feature, we take it as something which is easy to implement, because ultimately the content of the recommendation will come from the accountants. So we have to make sure that we are displaying it in the proper format, and we have the call to action, such as a trigger to make the payment in case the customer wants to refer to recommendations more than once. So I think as per our understanding, the implementation should be easy for at least the recommendation feature.
Okay, so you're saying that these are easy to implement. That's why you put them also on the top. So it's not just the must-have; it's actually also easy to do.
Right.
Sir, just one more line to add to this. We kind of took some inspiration from the Google AdWords platform. So they show their recommendations in this form. So they also have a team which suggests solutions, but then they show the recommendations in this form. And they found out that the customers were clicking away a lot when these recommendations were appearing on that screen. So it has an improved success factor there. So we kind of were inspired by that.
Yeah, and if you look at the behavior of any self-employed who want to talk to the accountant because they don't want to deal with all the complexity, right? Don't you think the call accountant icon user story that you're talking about could have been like in a must-have? Why are you saying that's a should-have?
So what we assumed here.
Yes.
Yeah, so what we did here is that we assumed that because we have to go step by step and see what we absolutely need at the first stage and then subsequently what we need later on. So we thought if the notification is available, the self-employed individual is in any ways contact with the accountant externally or through the app. So maybe we can do some slight delay here in the call button implementation in the later stages, but having a notification and this first screen to entice them that this is the value that can be created if they talk to their accountant right now, that was the most important part.
Okay.
Just to add one more point to it. So what we thought was, if we have both the notifications and call to action button at the same place, there is a probability that user might really start using call to action button. and we may never be able to gauge the effectiveness of the notifications button. So I think in a beta phase, it will be better try out just the notification feature once so that you really know whether it is making an impact. Then you can have the call to action button as a something which fail-safe mechanism where restaurant can reach out to accountants.
Could you not ascertain that with an A/B test?
Yeah, we can do that.
So, sir, that's what we wanted to have a difference between an MVP and what we call a minimum lovable product. So definitely we'll have the call and the chat option in the minimum lovable product itself, the MLP.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Cool.
Thank you.
So hey guys, again, thanks for sharing this. What I particularly liked about was the focus on the client and accountant interaction. That's the gist of this, right? Number two, your point about encouraging clients to do things on a regular basis, so that when they actually the tax filing for time for tax filing comes in, things are in shape. That's a good piece to go after as well. I also love the fact that you actually called out the end-to-end metrics, including the North Star. Although, the additional piece of revenue was only for one persona, but, the fact that you covered it across marketing, customer care, and PD, that was a good piece as well. The two questions which I had very quickly was, number one, you talked about two solution options. Although technically you did not use that as options, I'm going to, assume that was an option. I'll tell you why. But the first piece, which was, investment recommendations. Where are the recommendations coming from on that slide number 7? Who gives the recommendation?
So, sir, I would like to start. The recommendations are coming from the accountants. The accountants who are partnered with the clients. So there was a pain point which was mentioned in the problem statement as well, that the accountants, they need high value services. Yes,
I get that. So I get that. So if in case the recommendation is coming from the accountant, why are they going to save a cut of that with Intuit?
Sir, I can answer that here. So that is why we wanted to bring the importance of network effects here. The more one side is added, the more value gets generated for the other side. So what we visualize this is that, like we gave an example, that this particular suggestion would help you increase your investment or your returns by X amount, then 5% of this will go to the accountants because they are providing the solution through Intuit. So we are not taking them out of the ecosystem by putting them as a separate entity. We want the whole ecosystem to grow together. So because of Intuit, they are getting that client, and that's why it makes sense to share the cut from there.
Got it. So see, what happens is in this case, you're actually really just charging for them for access to customers and to a certain extent data. That, like you actually brought it out, there are all sorts of ethical questions around this, and that is also not a business model, right? One of the reasons why clients trust us is that because of the fact that, I do not use your data to pitch financial products across you. That's not what we do. And that is something that they actually call out as well. But fair point, makes sense. I'm actually leaning more towards the second option of the piece, which was encouraging the users to do things on a regular basis. I like the point around gamification. Of course, do remember, guys, in this case, I wonder if there is even a need for adding in extra rewards, because technically the rewards exist, right? We just said $4,700 if you do this on a regular basis, because if you don't get those deductions and you have to pay that to the government. So the reward and the clients, users know this, right? And that's literally your first piece. So if that's the case, what is rewards are already real, right? It's really hard cash. So how else can we encourage the clients to update books regularly? They're still not doing that. What else can we do?
Sir, the rationale behind giving them...
Yes, sir.
So the rationale behind giving them the rewards was to nudge them in the right direction, kind of, because...
So what Sorry, Budit, I'm interrupting. Why? Because we just have a minute. What I'm saying is the reward is already there. You don't have to add anything more. It's hard cash, right? You do this and you save that money. A coupon for coffee is not going to be anything more. That's the assumption in any case that can be validated. So if that's not working, why would the second thing work? To make that regular piece, which makes a lot of sense, what else can we try?
Yes.
Mudit, you want to take this?
I got that. Yeah. Anurag, you take this. I'm just having this connection problem. I'll be breaking in between.
Okay. I'm kind of.
Yeah, so I think one of the things which we could think of is that reward which user will get via completing all the steps in sequence, that does not look very explicit. So maybe this is something which he is failing to realize over the period of time. But if you say something like the sure shot reward at each and every step, that is very evident. So that could be one of the triggers, in my opinion.
I love that thought. Yeah, think about it, right? I don't know if you saw the product. Actually, there is a section called as mileage where it says, hey, if you classify this mileage, the potential reduction is $7.7. So if you just do that. So calling that out, that can be cool. Awesome. Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
And Aditya, so one more thing which I wanted to add on to Abhinav's point is, if my voice is clear, is that rewards are something which the same thing which Ranganathan used earlier. It's a motivation for the user to do it. So it's both intrinsic as well as an extrinsic reward. Just to conclude.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it is completely extrinsic hard cash. Absolutely. So makes sense. And I love that point.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, team. That was a great presentation. And thank you, judges, for the insightful Q&A. Now, I would like to invite our next team, Team Prodman from IIM Bangalore, with their presentation.
Nikhil.
Where is the team just?
Yeah, Nikhil, sorry. Team
sorry.
Prodman already.
Let
us invite Team Genesis from IIM Calcutta.
Team Genesis from IIM. Sorry. For the mistake. Sorry.
Hi guys. So a very good afternoon to the respected judges and the Intuit team, the organizing team, and all my fellow finalists. We are Team Genesis from IIM Calcutta, proud to be here to present our findings and suggestions for a feature that would allow the growing segment of self-employed individuals and gig workers to collaborate with accountants on the Quickbooks platform. So first, we'd like to identify user personas and identify their pain points which need solving. Further on, we'd recommend some features to solve said pain points, prioritize between these features, and come up with our final recommendations with some mock-ups, metrics to measure success, and a roadmap, and also how we'd like to position our feature. So first up, a user persona is that of an accountant who has an experience of dealing with both companies and individual clients. A bulk of her time goes by in converting paper receipts to invoices. This provides her with little value as she tries to focus more of her time in high-value services like consultancy. A majority of her work comes during the tax filing time, as people don't digitize for the year, and thus it becomes tedious and overwhelming to do it all during the end. A second persona is that of a self-employed individual who has a turnover with less than 20 lakhs. We do this segregation between income, more and less than 20 lakhs because of their compliance towards indirect tax, that is GST. Above 20 lakhs, government complies you to file your GST quarterly, and above 50 lakhs, it's monthly. However, below 20 lakhs, it can be done on a yearly basis without any fine. For a self-employed individual with a turnover of less than 20 lakhs, it becomes a little more intimidating managing finances because of a lack of knowledge about these topics. And upon talking to a few CAs in our network, we realize that audits that they do for these individuals, they often find that even for the basic things, their advice is taken as the individual is very unsure. For an individual with a turnover above 20 lakhs, they often do manage their services, finances in some way, Excel or some way. However, GST compliances and tax savings becomes a bigger issue for them. If they go to the CA at the end of the year, they are left with too little a time to invest in places to save taxes upon the accountant's advice. Can we go to the next slide, Parag? Thank you. So coming to our suggested features, the first one I'd like to talk about is the CA marketplace. This would be a forum where accountants could enlist themselves with QuickBooks with their background. Individuals looking for accountants, be it complete financial management or just some advice, could connect with said accountants whom they find reliable based on their experiences, reviews, and ratings. This would also help accountants connect and help and gain more clients with more high value services. The second feature I'd like to talk about is the tax savings consultancy service. We thought about this feature in ways where we wanted users to connect to CAs from an advisory perspective. We also thought this feature like an open forum where users could seek help from an open forum of accountants and get recommendations. Saving a lot of money in taxes would also motivate the individual on the platform to digitize more frequently for the accountant's benefit. The third feature we thought of is an option to help get help from accountants for the GST compliance issues. Upon talking to accountants, we found that this is a very common issue among individuals working as freelancers, as GST often becomes a barrier and the fine for the same is to the tune of 200 a day. Seeking help from accountants on this issue would also mean that the individuals would digitize more frequently. The fourth feature I want to talk about is the SE grouper, where we would club self-employed individuals based on the work that they do and the income that they get. This would allow accountants to accept requests for them in bundles, and they would save time in understanding each user's every segment of business. The fifth feature we have is that of a freelance digitalizer, where we would allow finance students and learning accountants to do the work of digitization against a small token fee for individuals or accountants. This would help these freelancers gain some exposure to real-life accounting and also the tedious work of digitization and creating invoices from paper receipts would be saved. We also discussed a chat room option where people could get their minor doubts answered by a CA by subscribing to it. However, we also felt that the accountant-client relationship asks some trust, and hence an open chat room might not be the best place. Can you go to the next slide, Parag? Thank you. So coming to the prioritization bit, where we identify the features that we want to build. For a feature like a freelance digitizer, we understand that it will bring in a good amount of user growth in terms of how it opens up to a new segment. But it would also come with its challenges that we would entrust non-experienced people to deal with real money of users who might not be comfortable with it. It would also bring in another stakeholder to take care of, and this would mean a lot of effort. We feel that the CA marketplace would work well with the GST compliance helper feature and could be offered to individuals on a combined or as individual options. Building the CA marketplace would also take some initial effort in terms of onboarding accountants. However, the proposition is that they would gain a lot of new clients and would gain a lot of time in terms of advisory and high value offerings. Hence, we would like to recommend the CA marketplace feature along with the GST compliance. My teammate Rohit will carry on from here with the user. Thank you.
Yeah, just one quick question, Sal. We are not able to see because of Zoom bar. What is the last option? Can you just remind me for that? That's getting cut out.
So, in terms of the prioritization?
Yeah, the last one below SE Grouper, which is the last one?
Okay, the last one is that of the freelance digitalizer.
Freelance.
We understand. So we've given it a high value, value high, but in terms of complexity, it's high as well. So,
cool.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Having selected Accountant Marketplace and GST Compliance Helper as our prioritized features, the goal will be to increase user acquisition and user engagement. The marketplace will help the accountants and the clients connect with each other. When we look at the value proposition for the users, it becomes easier for them to understand the GST complications involved in their businesses. Also, towards the year end, it becomes less hectic for them as the receipts are digitized continuously throughout the year now. And following is our value proposition for the platform. This will lead to increase in the number of active users, and this will also lead to increase in the signups driven by people trying to find accountants through the platform. Moving on to user journey. Self-employed people who don't have the required financial knowledge to file taxes will want to connect with CAs. This will be the trigger point. They will then look for available CAs in the marketplace by going over their ratings. They will then send a request to connect with CAs of their choice. They can also share the details of CA with their network and friends. Accountants will help them manage and understand the GST compliance according to their income. It can also help them by digitizing the receipts and help them keep a record for the years and pay their GSTs. Next slide, please. We have some mockups for the selected features here. On the marketplace, we have a list of accountants along with the ratings with a drop-down having their history and reviews. On the individual accountant page, we have feedbacks from different users. And when we scroll down, we have an option to connect with the accountant. Next slide, please. Next, we can ask the accountant either to manage entire finances and assistance in all our dealings, or we can ask them just for advice in GST filing. Then we have the option of writing about us and our individual needs and requirements and send the accountant a request to connect. Now I would request my teammate Parag to talk about success metrics and the roadmap.
Now, coming to the success metrics of the recommended feature, we have divided them into positive and negative metrics. So the number of SEs availing the services of the marketplace divided by the number of SEs who have signed up on the platform will give us a conversion ratio. And each successful payment that has been made between the accountant and the SE will give us the number of successful payments. And the user group 3 would be more involved into digitalization of monthly or quarterly digitalization of GST taxes. So that would help us increase the MAU as well. And the negative metrics is such as the churn rate, and if the users are requesting for more and more service requests but are getting denied constantly, that will put a dent on the customer satisfaction and the user growth as well. So this is the metrics that we can focus on. And as we learn more about the SEs, we can optimize the list and we can suggest the accountants more likely that are suitable to them. And coming to the feature positioning, our target customers will be accountants looking for clients and client service assistants, and the SE personnel looking for someone to manage their finances. And some of the core attributes that of our feature are digital assistance for our clients around the year, and accountant lists. So the current challenges that accountants face are like service customers without any digital assistant, and work is piled up at the end of the financial year. So our feature is the main differentiator of the feature of our feature is it acts as a marketplace platform between the users and the CAs. So we can also develop a communication channel as well. So coming to the implementation of our feature, roadmap of the recommended feature. So we have divided that into 4 sprints. Since we are creating an entire new marketplace, so we'll first focus on the user interface, and we'll develop the accountant profile and the main page design, followed by the accountant availability and various filters that we are going to provide for the both the users. And the sprint 3 will focus mainly on the payments, and followed by the sprint 4, where the communication and feedback will be given a priority. That's all from our side. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Team Genesis. Loved the timing, and I think you stayed crisp to the point. A few things that I really want to call out in your presentation. I think it was well structured overall, and had nuances of the user persona both on the the SE side and the accountant side. Specifically, calling out the challenges that not just what the SEs face, but also what the accountants face. Accountants go through this year-end pile up of all the information from their clients. Love the roadmap and how you give the timeline view of the implementation itself, because that's where the things get real, and that's where you actually when the rubber hits the road. I have a question on the download of the CA marketplace. You said that you will actually have this as a marketplace, which is probably on an app store. How is the discovery of the marketplace going to be, and how would you intend to have more of these users download this? Is it a durable app which can stay with the users for the year, or is it a seasonal app that they will download?
So I would like to take this question. So when we are talking about we are going to build up a marketplace, we are not talking about an entire different application, but more like a feature in the QuickBooks application only. But irrespective of the subscription of the user, each and every user and accountants will be able to access this feature. And that is how we are going to
that is how we plan. We'll be implementing this feature. Yeah.
Got
it. To carry on,
Well
so I would
said.
like to say that our users will be driven by users who would like to connect with a CA and find a fit for them, so they can build either a long-term relationship or just a seasonal thing, just where the CA can advise them for their GST compliances or their tax savings. So we would like to build an entire ecosystem where an SE would find an accountant and get help with them and connect with them for all their financial activities. Upon connecting with the accountant, maybe the accountant can be given a read option for the SE's profile, where the SEs has already digitized their invoices on the QuickBooks platform, which is already an option. So you want to give the accountant either an option to read those invoices that are already on their account, or they can also move to some other platform where they find more comfort.
Right.
Okay, Lokesh, you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead, Aditya.
Sure. Again, great presentation, guys. And last, of course, not the least. So what I really liked was the fact that, hey, it was very apparent that you actually did your primary research. You have spoken to a CA. It shows up, right? Segmentation is great, especially from adding the layer of compliance. That is something which does happen, because when it comes down to things like this, compliance actually changes the needs, and that does reflect in your segmentation. That was pretty awesome. For me, a couple of questions which I have is, number one, I also like the fact that, hey, you started with the solution options and then you used value to say, rank those. How do you define that value? If you go to the prioritization slide, when you said value, what is that value? What is that metric that you're using for?
So in terms of value, we are finding more of, we are looking for more signups and more active users on our platform. So we feel that the CA marketplace, and hence we gave a high value to freelance digitalizer as well, because we feel this will bring a lot more people on our platform and give an entire financial solution to our user. That is the base that we use for our value in terms of CA marketplace and freelance digitalizer. We, as you mentioned, the compliance is also a major issue when it comes down to it. But we do not feel that if we only help a user for their GST compliance, they will be shifted to our platform. If we give them an entire value proposition of, hey, we'll find you an accountant who will manage all your finances and also help you in dealing with your GST compliances, which might be monthly, quarterly, or yearly. That will help us gain more users on our platform.
I get it. So what you're saying is value is essentially growth, and it's an internal value to Intuit in this case.
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. And why is the active rate important? And okay, since it's very conceptually similar to an earlier team, so my questions will repeat. But in this case, we talked about it, right? Hey, and just the last example itself. This is not something which is a pleasurable activity, right? Everybody hates taxes. Everybody hates paying money. Everybody hates that, oh, on top of paying money, now I have to put in you documents as well. If I'm given a choice, I would go away with taxes, right? Go and live in Abu Dhabi. But the point which I'm trying to make is, if it's not a pleasurable activity, why is MAU or an active rate actually important? And how does the fact that, hey, we're using a CA marketplace in getting to an increase in MAU?
So that is the reason why we did not use DAU as a metric, because this is obviously that a user does not do on a daily basis. However,
two of your segments, the first two segments only have to follow it, file it once in a year, correct?
Yes, sir. The user group 2 comes in only at the end of the year, where they have a turnover of less than 20 lakhs. But a growth in MAU will come from the user group 3, who will have to file their compliances either monthly or quarterly, and this will result in them digitalizing more frequently on the platform.
And also adding to the, sorry, go ahead.
Sure, Parag, go ahead.
So adding to the Sahil's point, we can also observe how the user is interacting with the platform in the initial stage of implementing the feature. So that will also come into handy. So that is why we think MAU is helpful.
Again, I'm not debating if MAU is helpful. It would be awesome, right? Hey, any product manager would love that. But what I'm saying is, how it's just the fact that, hey, I've now introduced a CA marketplace and connected you to a CA, which by the way was already happening for 65% of the cases in the case. It lead people to engage more.
As you mentioned, it is a very tedious process and people do not like to do it. However, in terms of MAU, we do not mean users who will be using this platform, like they open Instagram or WhatsApp or any social media platform. The active users won't be in terms of that. However, the active users will come in terms of the users who would like to digitize through the QuickBooks online app, the feature that it already offers, that you can create your invoices and send an email to your customer and you get an invoice generated itself. So in terms of MAU, we mean that when it comes down to the GST compliance, the user would use the app to digitalize their payments and make it easier for the accountant, or either the accountant does it for the user based on how they have their own dealings sorted.
Yeah, like I said, we'll have to move on because we don't have enough time, but you see where I was going with it. The second part of the question, guys, is again, so what is the competitive moat here, right? We introduce a CA marketplace, essentially saying, hey, CA, this is your profile, this is who I am, this is my rating, show it to the customer. Customer sees it and connects to the CA. Perfect. Anybody can do that, right? It's not exactly a big deal to actually make this up. So what is the competitive mode? If this becomes big, tomorrow you will have everybody just building that across. So why would this stick to the Intuit platform?
So we would, as Parag mentioned in one of the earlier questions, we would like to keep it free for the users who would be using on the application. But given we get accountants more and more clients to connect with, we would we would take a small compensation from the amount that the accountant helps the user manage. So that is how we would like to get some revenue from that side. However, if other competitors like Khatabook, who is catering to retail stores and managing their finances, if they want to shift to if they want to make this platform essentially, it is essential that we keep the accountants stick to our platform and have that database of accountants where SEs can find accountants of all sorts who have experiences in dealing all sorts of finances, be it a painter who sells their paintings for 50 lakhs a year, or be it a Uber delivery an Uber driver who earns less than 20 lakhs a year. So we'll have accountants who have experiences in all sorts of ways, so that our platform becomes the go-to place for this.
And also, we are kind of introducing this feature before our competitors, so that gives us a competitive advantage as well, since we are giving ratings to all the accountants and the individual users as well. So that helps us kind of stay ahead in the market when if we think for a long-term perspective.
Yeah, have them do their jobs better. That is an interesting angle. Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Sahil, Parag, and Rohit. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Team Genesis, for a wonderful presentation. It was very well structured and well thought out presentation. And thank you, judges, for the stimulating Q&A. So we are done with our presentations for the day, and there were some very much impressive presentations, and I'm sure our judges will be having a difficult time picking up on a winner among such innovative and innovative ideas and solutions. So now I would request our judges to proceed on to the breakout rooms in order to decide and evaluate the presentations.
Okay, so while the judges are deciding on who's the winner for this event is, so by the time I would like to share that with a 13-year of history and participation from more than 100 B schools, OJAS, OJAS is SPJMR's flagship management fest. OJAS aims to present our peers from all around the country with an educational and enriching experience. And friends, let me tell you, the team OJAS has been working diligently to bring you a variety of interactive activities and a meaningful experience. So we would like to urge you to vote for OJAS on the D2C platform and help us become the country's one of the top B school fest. So we'll be sharing the link in a while and we'll urge you to vote for it. Thank you.
Meeting is being recorded.
Hello.
Hi Aditya, hi Lokesh. Welcome back.
Everyone.
As you can see, our job was not easy. And thank you for making it that way.
I'm sure you must have had a good headache.
Well, yeah, it was an awesome use of us Sunday afternoon. And thank you so much for making that happen, guys. First of all, thank you for having us. And,
It's a pleasure.
Like I said, at the beginning of the presentation, contest, what I said is I actually was a part of the judging panel last year as well. And I was looking forward to the bar being increased. And that definitely did happen. What really stood out for both of us, Lokesh and I, when we were discussing about that, was how apparent product thinking actually was. And by that, I mean all the teams where, got the thinking process right in terms of starting from the user, thinking about the personas, thinking about the user journeys, thinking through how was my competition doing, and then blending those insights to come up with a solution. Awesome job. In fact, as compared to last year, when majority of the presentations were actually business proposals, these were product presentations. In fact, the compliment which I can give you guys is we do interviews almost on a daily basis. Several of these presentations were actually better than some of the PMs that we speak out in the industry. And, we learned as well. There were some times where I was just Googling saying, this is something which I didn't know about. So awesome job overall, all the teams. We can't wait for you guys to be out in the industry and then get a chance to work with you. But that said, we did have to choose a winner. And the way we did that was by looking at which were the teams which actually got the gist sense of the problem, right? Now, the problem is tricky, right? Especially two-sided network effect problems are always tricky. Why? Because you need to understand two things. Number one, you need to understand, hey, what do I solve first, the supply side or the demand side? Which is the use case which I do to create traction? And number two, then how do I keep the users sticking to my platform? That's always hard. People have solved it. For example, Book My Show is a textbooks case in this, where you have actually solved the supply side, where you have solved a very hard case of helping theater owners to manage their operations. And by that, what they have done is they have completely conquered the demand side, and you wouldn't even see a competition. So what we were looking for was somebody who actually understood the gist of these problems, and there were two teams who actually addressed that really well, and that they were the ones who rose to the top. So Lokesh, would you like to announce who they were?
Yeah, sure.
Lokesh, can I just request you to announce the runners up first, and then we will take a picture?
Yeah, totally will do that. Thank you. Plus one to what Aditya said, and I think I personally learned a lot in this whole process as you all were going through these presentations. Very important to call out that when we are looking at any PM to be hired on any of the roles at Intuit, I think there were so many sparks that I could see throughout these all the 6 presentations. So congratulations to everyone who have really prepared solid cases and analysis and everything together. We look for customer empathy. We found it there. We look for the basic PM skills. How do you strategically think? How do you ideate? How do you solution? How do you use the use cases? And how do you structure the entire process? We saw roadmaps being built. We saw very data-backed, decision making happening. Overall, great Q&A fielding and the positioning and go-to-market as well. So I thought all of that was there, and it was a great package. It was a delight for both Aditya and me, and we had an awesome time together. I want to go with the runners-up first, and it was a hard time for us to decide, as you can imagine. So Chasm Crossers from IIM Bangalore is the runners-up.
Congratulations, Chasm Crossers.
Congratulations, Chasm Crossers. I think Nishant and Ranganathan, you did an awesome job of how you presented, and at the same time how you structured the entire thinking. Really, it was a delight to see your presentation and also how you fielded the questions. Congratulations.
Can we request logistics team to capture a screenshot?
Yes, Anand, it is done.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Anand. And that brings me to the number 1 position. And Genesis from IIM Calcutta, you scored the top spot in our rankings, and it was again very difficult for us to reach there. But Parag, Rohit, Sahil, you guys did an awesome job of how you structured your conversation. How do you really went about presenting the details of your user personas? I want to call out, you identified that threshold of 20 lakh GST as well, called that out and specifically worked around it. I think the whole flow and the structure of the presentation was very, very well done. And even the the assumptions that you called out in positive and negative metrics, I thought all of that was great. Congratulations, and clearly not easy one for us for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Genesis, the one thing which stood out for me in your presentation was the fact that you did what product managers are supposed to do well, and that is to think broad and then narrow down to a particular solution on based of a particular thinking. Why that is important is, guys, we do not know the answers all of the time. Many times we actually pick a solution, go and check that, and then come back. And that is why why we actually have a methodology which is called as go broad and go narrow. And that is what stood out for us. So congratulations, and it's been a delight.
Congratulations, Team Genesis and Team Casting Process for being the winners of Dexterity, the Product Management Challenge. I would like to invite Team Casting Process first to speak a few words. Can we have Team Casting Process on the screen?
Okay. Thank you so much for organizing everything, firstly to SPJIMR. And the second and the most important thanks should go to the people from Intuit. Thank you very much, Mr. Lokesh and Aditya. We were listening to each one of the presentations as well as the suggestions that you were giving, and actually we were making note of it. So it was such an eye-opening thing for us. So we are learning actually from industry people. So it was a great experience for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Judges, Lokesh and Aditya. Thank you, JIMR, for this opportunity. It was really a learning experience for us. The way and Renga is also very. I enjoyed working with him as well. So this is the first time that we are participating, and I really liked the overall experience. And thank you for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Congratulations once again, Casting Process. Thank you for participating in Dexterity. And can we have Team Genesis on the screen, please? I would request you to speak a few words about how was the overall experience and then how we are feeling right now.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank SPJN for hosting this event. It was a lovely experience. Actually, we, this segment is something that we had not previously explored a lot upon, and this gave us a lot of opportunity to research more into it and, talk to different segments of people who we do not necessarily talk to in our daily life and daily conversations about things that happen in this industry. We loved all the team's presentation. To be honest, we did not find any. We found a lot of different opinions and in different ways the teams approach this problem, which we really enjoyed, and got a lot of new features that we thought that we should have also thought about, and we like that we like that about this whole experience. And thank you for the judges. We the Q&A session really got us thinking and stimulated into what we were already thinking to encourage us to deep down further into it and understand more about the segment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, judges and the whole team. It was a wonderful experience. And like the judges said, the main problem that we faced was the problem statement was a bit tricky. And we spent a lot of time on thinking about the problem statement itself. We were coming up with problems and features as well, but the main question was, were we able to connect both the dots? Like, were we able to connect how we are going to increase the engagement of SEs and accountants as well? So that was the trickiest part, but we got enough time, so it was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and especially, I mean, all the teams. And the major takeaway for all of us from this, competition will be to that we got to listen to different viewpoints and different thought processes, and I'm sure this is going to help us in future. When we go to the corporate sector and work on real projects. So that is the major takeaway for me. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Congratulations once again, both the teams. I just want to call out Nikhil, Anand. You both did an awesome job, and I think even the rest of the organizing team on keeping us to the time. It was we could have spent you could have seen how Aditya and I were enjoying the whole flow. So we could have spent like an enormous amount of time on listening to the presentation, going back and forth with the questions, because I personally took a lot away from this. I've made notes on almost every single presentations and how the teams had actually approached a certain problem, a lot of new terminologies and things that I did not know about and I learned. So thank you for enriching us as well in this whole process.
Awesome job, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lokesh and Aditya, for these kind words. And on the behalf of SBJMR and OJAS, we congratulate all the national finalists of Dexterity. We aim to provide a platform where participants could learn product management skills, apply it on a real-life corporate case, and hence evolve as a highly empathetic as well as innovative product managers in the future. I'm sure every participant of Dexterity would take home these learnings, and it was our pleasure to give you everyone this chance, and I wish each of you the best of luck on your next voyage, which I'm sure would be thrilling and fulfilling. I would also want to express my gratitude to our great panelists from Intuit, who helped us conduct this competition in a seamless manner. We would like to thank our event sponsors, Intuit, who helped us by providing continuous support in the form of by providing us a real-life case study, evaluating round 2 submissions, and presiding over the national finals as jury members. This event would not have been possible without their association and continued support, and hence, and also I am certain that the suggestions and feedback that you provided would be beneficial for both us and the participants. Last but not the least, I would like to express my gratitude to SPJMR and OJAS 14 for providing us with a required platform for Dexterity event. Thank you all for joining us today. We wish you a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yours.
Thank you. I would request Team Genesis and Chasm counselors to stay back, please. Thank you. And on a personal note, thank you so much, Aditya and Lokesh, for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan. Can we drop off?
Yes, Lokesh.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.